Soft, fluffy, pillowy.
Yes, all of those.
I want to bury my face in it.
Honestly, it's fabulous. There's too much ginger fabulousness going on to it. Can you have too much ginger fabulousness? Okay.
I pulled it too hard. It shoots down into the pot, and the contents of the pot are forced out by the water. Nope. There's chocolate mousse all over the kitchen blinds.
Why?
And I'm like...
He didn't tell me.
I'm like, how did I end up in this position?
So we've had our little starter of the soft ginger nuts. Very delicious, very much enjoyed it, but... Oh no, not again.
Here it is, end off. That's a great finish off. So I'll
Here it is, end off.
Yeah, beautiful. Welcome everybody to the Bakery Bears video show featuring Kay's Cosy Kitchen.
Ooh.
Ladies and gentlemen,
It's a good one.
Boys and girls, this is most definitely a show filled with ginger fabulousness.
It is.
It's a phrase coined by Kay in the outtakes.
Oh really? I can't remember saying that.
And it's full of ginger fabulousness because we have the world's greatest ginger biscuits. Where one is simply not enough. We have the squishiest cake in the history of the world.
Squishy?
Soft, fluffy, pillowy.
Yes, all of those.
I want to bury my face in it.
Go ahead.
Which has the wonderful ingredient of ginger too. And then of course, we have me.
You're not really ginger anymore.
You're wonderful to say that. I don't ever think I really was ginger.
No,
because it's not right to say I'm not ginger anymore. You're implying my hair is full of grey. There are some greys on the temples.
There are a few greys.
And that's fine.
I just thought to myself, I haven't cut your hair and you asked me to, but that's
You're doing
tomorrow.
it tomorrow. Yeah, I booked in. I booked in tomorrow. Yes. It's marvellous. I sit down in the chair. She puts the thingy on. Doing a thing nice today, she says.
No, I don't do that.
Where are you going for your holidays this year?
It's like going in the post office these days.
What she does is she asks a question. She asks me a question and then doesn't listen to my answer at all. It's just like being in the hairdressers. No, I'm being mean now.
I'm going to stop. I've told him if he doesn't stop with these things, he won't have a hairdresser any longer, and then he'll be sorry.
What things?
He? Just making fun.
She's creating drama out of nothing. What is she talking about?
But no, your hair was red when you were young, and those really young photos I've seen of you, it was really red.
Well, the funny thing is, my journey began blonde.
So did mine.
Yes.
I was white blonde when I was little.
Yes. But really, my hair, my brother's hair, Dom. For everyone who saw the Patreon-only show earlier this year where we interviewed the composer of all the wonderful music, my brother Dom, his hair is ginger.
But not anymore.
Hey, stop it, you.
No, he just looks blonde these days.
It's pretty cool though, isn't it?
Yeah, it just looks blonde.
Yeah.
And I think that happens with a lot of redheads, doesn't it? When they go grey, it just goes, it looks blonde.
I mean, I'm definitely greying at the temples, but who cares?
I don't care.
I'm cool with that. And I actually...
So am I.
When you cut it short, I quite like it. It's like salt and pepper.
Yeah, I don't care.
It's not really salt and pepper, is it? Because that's the black stuff. You've got to have black hair to have salt and pepper hair.
Yeah.
What's this then?
Well, you know, it comes to us all, doesn't it?
It does.
I don't know anyone whose hair stays the same colour their whole life.
And ladies and gentlemen, we are, of course, slap bang... Well, we're past the middle now. Oh, well, tricky. Summer of stitching, baby.
Oh, no.
Summer of stitching.
Oh, we're well past the middle, I would say now.
Well, we are because...
We're almost August, aren't we?
Because the Christmas in July, Cal.
Yes.
Hasn't it been fun?
It's been really fun, and we're right at the very end of it now. If you are wanting to finish your projects, then, rush to get them finished off. But you don't have to finish, but all of the rules are on the Ravelry thread, and there's so many chatters and entries and just gorgeous projects. So I look through it and it's just so inspirational. It's really lovely. But yeah, that's coming to an end now. So I'll close the thread probably the 1st or the 2nd of August, and then we will draw the prize winner on the next show. So that'll be fun.
Superb. But
yeah.
that's just one of the many highlights of our summer of stitching, because of course you have begun and actually completed the beginner hand embroidery course.
Yeah.
Which the bag's not around, is it? You've not got the gorgeous.
Oh, here.
Yes.
Oh, I've got both of the other ones up there.
One will do.
Yes. Of the little mushroom house.
And the main course has begun.
It has.
Yes,
I've seen already people have started. The thing we start with is stitching the sort of red of the mushroom house.
This is, of course, Case Stitchy You.
The Stitchy You. You get to do all of this lovely roof of the mushroom, toadstool, whatever it is. And I've seen a couple already that have started.
It's taking you through every stage of making this.
Yes.
From beginner to...
I love this little bag. I absolutely love this bag. I'll use this all the time.
It's marvellous.
Yeah.
Yes, it's so much fun. Oh my goodness. Now look, I must pause for a moment just to talk about chocolate mousse.
Chocolate mousse?
Yeah, well, or is it...
Why?
Well, I suppose in America you might call this chocolate pudding. What would you call those things that our daughter Bryony loves to have after her tea?
She has the Cadbury's trifle. It's like a chocolate trifle. I forget what they're called.
Oh, okay. Right.
It's a trifle.
Layers of Joy. Is it Layers of Joy?
It might be Layers of Joy.
It's so tricky to remember. So it's like a trifly moussey type thing. So
it does have a mousse. It has a chocolate sort of like
cream on the top and a bit of cake on the bottom.
Yeah, it has more like the consistency of what I think pudding would be in America. I don't
exactly
understand
what I said
the whole pudding thing.
2 minutes ago, I just said exactly that. Yes.
Yeah.
In America, you would probably think of it as chocolate pudding.
Yeah.
Now, it's crazy, isn't it? How is it in life we sometimes end up in these positions and we think, how on earth did we end up here? I can actually think of another one for me. It was a time when I was super gluing a mirror in the middle of a car. The mirror, you know, when the mirror in the middle of a car, it drops off the window.
Your rear view, yes.
Yeah, the one that you look in to see out the back of the car.
Yeah.
It had dropped off.
Yeah.
And so I thought, I know, I'll get some super glue and I'll super glue it back onto the windscreen. So what I did was, I got the mirror in this hand. I got the super glue in this hand.
I don't do super glue.
And I thought, hold on a minute, how am I going to get the top off the super glue? I know what I'll do. I'll stick it in my mouth. I'll take the top off. I'll then squirt it onto the mirror.
Why don't you
stick
just
the mirror up onto the glass.
Down?
So the mirror's up on the glass. I've got the super glue in my hand, and I suddenly thought, hold on a minute. I've got to get the top back on the super glue. I can't let go of the mirror.
You should have just put the super glue down, taken the top out of your mouth, and done it that way.
But no matter how I could work it out in my head, I'm thinking, how on earth did I get myself into this position where I've got the top of the super glue in my mouth? I can't move this hand, and my other hand is holding the super glue. Don't panic, folks. I did not try and put the super glue top on that was in my mouth. I just put it down. It dried up, and that super glue went in the bin. And the best part was the mirror didn't stick either. So that was a moment, just like this moment that I ended up in the other day. I'm doing the dishes, and we now, of course, live in a world, quite rightly so, where we have to recycle things. And to recycle properly, you have to give them a little wash out.
Yeah.
Kay has a theory that, you know, we're wasting the world's water by constantly washing out everything.
We are.
Anyway, so I thought, right, okay, before I do the washing, I'll just do the recycling bit and everything will be fine. So grab hold of the chocolate pudding thing and, you know, just stick it under the tap. Turn the tap on. The water came out like an Exocet missile. I pulled it too hard. It shoots down into the pot, and the contents of the pot are forced out by the water, and they end up all over the blinds in the kitchen.
You're kidding?
Nope. There's chocolate mousse all over the kitchen blinds.
Why?
And I'm like...
He didn't tell me.
I'm like... How did I end up in this position? Haven't we all been in positions like this before? You must have been in...
I've never done that before, no.
But surely in your life there's been a moment where you thought, how did I end up here? Or has that never happened?
No, it has.
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
Stuff's like that's happened, yeah.
So I'm like... and I'm like, case upstairs, I'm thinking, what do I do? So do you know what I did? I went under the sink.
Yeah.
I got the Dettol wipes.
Right.
And I set to work on the blinds.
And it must have worked because I haven't noticed. I'm going to go looking now, of course.
Perfection.
Right.
Absolute perfection. Oh my goodness, as like, they're the Dettol floor wipe things, aren't they?
Yeah, the
Yes.
anti-back floor wipe things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just superb for cleaning off your blinds. Who'd have thought it?
I've just been sat here thinking about the whole rinsing out business.
Yes.
And I've thought of a way of solving this excess water thing.
What do you do?
Well, why don't you wait until you finish washing the dishes
And use
then
the water from the dishwater.
Use the dishwater in the sink.
Genius.
Just to rinse them out.
That's what I'll do.
Yeah.
If I'd done that day,
That
chocolate
wouldn't have
mousse wouldn't have
happened.
ended up all over our
Because
blinds.
it's a real
Bugbear.
it's a real bugbear with me that, and I'm sure other people do it as well, because they like things to be rinsed out, don't they, before you put them in. Otherwise, the other thing is, they
Attracts
smell,
ants and
attracts stuff,
animals
because there's bits of food left in there. Oh, don't, the world that we currently live in just is driving me crazy for one reason or another.
And I'll tell you another reason why the world that we currently live in is driving me crazy. Because, so I go for the Dettol wipes. And now, we've touched on this a tiny bit before, but I just have to pause for a moment, and I have to say again, why on earth do we live in a world where you need industrial cutting equipment to get into things?
Yeah, they are really difficult to get into.
It's not just that, though. I can't open the packets of the biscuits that we eat.
No. Oh, no, you can't. I have to open those.
Because they're so... You can't get purchase on the plastic.
No. I don't even know if it is plastic these days. What it is, I don't know.
Whatever it is,
yeah,
I just can't... I can't get it. Even no matter what I do. It's like, I just want a biscuit. Now, when did this start? Do you know what? It set me thinking.
When they invented plastic is when this started.
You're right, because I remember my gran having similar problems opening stuff up.
Yeah.
And I wonder... I mean, it can't be just as you get older, because I'm only 46.
No,
I should be able to open
isn't,
a packet.
but I know that the elderly do struggle. My mum can't open all kinds of things, and my brother, when he goes with her shopping and stuff, he has to open, because she drinks bottled water, because she doesn't like the water where she lives. So he don't even go there. Just go with it. Just go with it.
I think the point is she wouldn't like the water anywhere that she lived. Yes,
but
even if she literally lived in Malden Springs.
If she wants to drink bottled water, then that's fine
go
by
for
me.
it.
But he has to undo all the tops and then screw them back on just lightly for her, because she can't get into them. She can't open tins anymore.
Do you know what my
Even the ring pull ones she can't open.
My gran, do you know how she used to open a packet of biscuits?
With the teeth?
No.
No.
A bread knife.
Oh, I used to do that. Just get a bread knife and do that down the biscuit. They do have those pull things, but they never work.
They never work.
They never work. So that's what I do. I get a serrated knife and I do that. And then they go in the biscuit barrel. Yeah, I know.
Do you know what? The shining sort of light in all of this is that it sort of started making me think about my gran. And it set me off on another train of thought, because I remember sitting down to watch Star Wars with my gran.
Gosh.
She'd not seen it. And I'm like, oh, Gran, you're going to love this. Sit down and watch it with me. So I put it on and I watched it. And I turned and looked at her face. And the look on her face was like...
What am I watching?
What on earth was that?
Which you can understand, because her generation, it would have been like...
She had no idea what had been going on. Just like totally flummoxed. And for the last... I mean, I was maybe I was 10. And it's taken me 36 years to finally feel what my gran felt that day.
I know what he's going to say.
Because we put on Disney Plus a movie called Free Guy, starring the excellent Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
And
I had no idea what was happening. Bryony was like, this is great. I know, she was totally new.
Just like me with Star
was
Wars
happening?
36 years ago.
And me and Dana just sat there going, I'm thinking, I hope this is just me, that I just have no clue what's happening in this film.
The funny thing is, I'm pleased to say I was, 10% of me sort of got it.
Yeah, you would have
just
got it more than me.
I played things like Minecraft.
Yeah,
right?
which I don't play games. I've never played games or anything like that. I've never been into that. I literally had zero idea what was happening, and I just sort of disengaged. But then once it was Bryony explained the whole thing to me, and I'm like, right, okay. So I understood it, but even then I thought, this is stupid.
So excellent film for the younger generation.
Oh, absolutely, Bryony loved it.
But not for the older generation.
Wasn't for me.
No. And I loved it though. And this is the thing that sort of got me thinking about my gran so much. I just thought, it's so lovely as you get older to begin to be in the footsteps of the people who were close to you when you were younger, and you start to understand why they had certain reactions to things which you were like, what are you talking about? It was just lovely. It's great, isn't it? You know, that you get those memories, and yeah, so it's lovely. Lovely thoughts. Look, too many amazing things today, because yes, I have finished something. In fact, if you're counting things off my needles, there are 3 things off my needles. Sadly, one of them is half a pair of socks and the other is 2 mittens. So it's actually only one thing. So yes, it is one of those momentous shows where it is me that will be showing you something in What's Off Your Needles. But before we get to all that, my goodness, we've got so much to get through, and it's all wonderful stuff. So I think without further ado, I should say, Kay Jones, what's on your needles?
Right, well, the first thing, it's actually... Well, there's 2 things I'm going to show you, but there's only one thing that is progressing, let's say. And I decided to pick up Dan's socks that I started for him a little while ago now. I think in May even. What are we in now? July? Might have been May. I picked them up and I started working on them, and I just thought, I'm just not feeling this. I don't know why. So I carried on for a bit thinking, oh, you know, it's fine, I'll just carry on. And it wasn't really fine. I just wasn't enjoying it. I couldn't say why, really. Honestly, don't know why. That sometimes just happens, doesn't it? So I thought, right, I'll change the needles. Maybe that will reinvigorate it for me. I'm working on double points. So I changed the needles and worked a bit more and thought, yeah, you know, it's okay. Maybe I'll carry on. But I just wasn't enjoying it. Put it down, didn't want to pick it back up. And that for me is usually an indication that all is not right with that project. And I think what it is, the yarn's lovely. It's a commercial yarn and there's not a thing wrong with the yarn. It's really nice sock yarn. It's by James C. Brett and it's Funny Feet, and the colourway I'm using is that one there, which has got letters and numbers, which I find a bit irritating because it's difficult to kind of say what they are, isn't it? Like I said, there's nothing wrong with the yarn. It's honestly really lovely, but I think at the minute I'm just more into hand-dyed yarn. I just want to knit socks with hand-dyed yarn. I'm sure I'll come back to commercial yarn at some point, but I think you've just got to go with what is taking your fancy, haven't you, at the time? Because Dan's socks take me such a long time. I just thought, I don't want to force myself to do this when I'm not really enjoying it, when I've got loads of hand-dyed sock yarn. And I can just knit him a pair that I'm going to enjoy. So this is the pair that I'm not going to carry on with. I mean, what I might do is just stick it in a bag. I'm not going to rip it out. It could well be that, it comes back into favour.
Were you knitting those on DPNs?
Yes.
Wow.
Why?
No. That's amazing. Why did you do them on DPNs?
I just fancied it.
Wow.
I do, quite often I'll go through a DPN phase and then I'll change to magic loop.
Might that be the reason you weren't enjoying it?
It could be. I think I am more in a magic loop phase, and I've cast him on another pair which I'm going to talk about in a second, and I am doing those on magic loop. So maybe at the moment I'm just more into magic loop, and I didn't want to switch these onto magic loop because my gauge is a little bit different on those 2 methods.
Must be the same for everybody.
Yeah, I reckon.
I'd love to know actually if there's someone out there. I mean, it must be impossible to have the same gauge on magic loop as...
I think it probably would be tricky because
unless you were super tight.
It's a subconscious thing, I think, gauge as well, isn't it? You don't really know, and you'd have to be really conscious with it, wouldn't you, all the time? And that takes the joy out as well, doesn't it? Too much thinking. So, I mean, this is just sock 1, and I'm on the foot now. Gone through the gusset decreases, and I'm on the foot. And it's a really nice sock. It's just a shorty. And I switched to my Chow Goos. And they're lovely. I really love Chow Goo DPNs. They're a really nice needle. They are nice and smooth. They've got a lovely point. It's not too pointy. It's not as pointy as higher sharps. I can't do higher sharps, unfortunately. I've never tried higher steels, which are the less pointy version.
That's funny, that, isn't it? Because the name makes you think it would be more pointy.
Yeah, it's not. It's less pointy. I've never tried those, so at some point I might get a set of those to try, because I've heard that if you don't like the super pointy sharps, the needle's sort of pointy, then they're a good option. So yeah, so I might come back to this at some point. But like I said, I'm just going to pop it in a bag and just let it sit for a bit. There's no point ripping it out. I might as well just leave it there. I don't generally like leaving projects just unfinished like that. I'm a more of a finish it or frog it type of girl. But with this one, I don't see any harm in just leaving it there.
That sounds like a TV show.
It does, doesn't it?
Where a bit like Dragon's Den, where you get 3 judges. They're 3 eminent, eminent sort of knitting people, 3 or 4.
Yeah, and you bring on your whips.
Knitters go in and you hold it up, and then they vote.
Should I finish it or frog it?
Yeah.
That's brilliant. We should do that. We should have a new section. Finish it or frog it. That would be so fun. So yeah, that's the sock I'm not carrying on with for the moment. I do really like it, and I love the yarn. It's really lovely commercial yarn. It's very good value for money. It's lovely and bouncy. It's nice and plump. So I may well come back to that. But I did want to have a pair of socks on the go for Dan, because to keep him supplied, I really need to have a pair on the go all the time, because he just wears them all the time. So if I don't, I know that I'm going to get to a point where you're not going to have very many pairs, and that'd be a bit of a disaster. So I thought, right, what do I want to knit? And I decided to use part of something that I bought in May. I bought it on May the 4th. I'm presuming it was on May the 4th or around May the 4th. And Stacey from Moustache Yarn, I think she does this every year. I'm not certain, but I think she does. I get her newsletter now. I signed up to her newsletter. So I was sort of, I got the newsletter, so I probably knew about this earlier than I would have normally. And every year, I don't know, she puts out a set of 20 gram minis of all of her Star Wars colourways. And I'm not sure how many's in there. I don't know, 18, 19, something like that, mini skeins. So it was a pricey purchase, and I did give it quite a bit of thought. But in the end, I just thought, do you know what, I'm just going to get this, because I know that I'll use them. It means that I've got all of the colours and I can do something fun with them. So I did that, and I'm using 5 minis. So I thought, right, I'll pull 5 minis out and I'll make some scrappy socks, some scrappy Star Wars socks. I'll show you the ones I'm using, but these are the others. I just popped them into a Bull Warehouse bag. So you get all of these fabulous minis. I won't show you them all. I've got some of these, I've got full skeins. Some I've already knit down socks. I've done Yoda socks, I've done Han Solo socks, I've done Boba Fett socks twice.
Do you remember those Han Solo socks you forgot you knitted?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. That was great.
I'm going to get these, and I'm going to knit them a pair. Oh, yeah, I've already done it.
This is the Han Solo colour. It's called the Rebel.
Would it be great if that happened every time?
I know.
Would you love that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's not my first choice to knit socks for you, so,
But I just wonder, dependent on the type of knitter that you are, if you could just pick out the yarn and then have the...
Yeah, I'd love that.
Right.
I'd love for them just to, like the shoemaker.
So that's
you wake up in the morning,
product.
there's a pair of shoes. I'd just love to put the yarn down there on my desk, and in the morning there's a beautiful pair of socks for you. That'd be perfect
That's
for me.
the product knitter, isn't it?
I guess so, yeah. Yeah, because I just want the thing. Well, I don't always just want the thing, but when it's Dan's socks, because they're so
blankets,
laborious. Blankets, no.
You want to knit those?
Oh yeah, I always want to knit those, and I love knitting normal size socks.
Yeah,
it's just the big socks. But yeah, this is the Rebel. This one's called. This is the Han Solo one, and Dan's got socks in this. But yeah, the names of them, because of copyright, obviously she can't call it Han Solo, so she calls them things which indicate what it's inspired by. So that one's the Rebel, and then you've got other ones like Dark Father, so that's Darth Vader. That one is clearly BB-8, B Droid number 8. That one's BB-8, so you get the idea. I've got all of these yarns. This one's lovely. I'm saving this one to put into some socks for Brian. It's Princess General, so that's Leia, but that's gorgeous, that one, look. But the 5 that I chose, let me put those back in the bag because I don't want them to get mixed up. Because me and Bryony took some time choosing the 5 yesterday. So I've got one of them, I don't know what it's referring to. So somebody out there might know and can comment and tell me what this one refers to. But the first one that I've actually started with is Baron Administrator, and that one's Lando.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've started with Lando and I've cast on with him. Lovely cuff. So it's like these blues and browns and yellows. So it's when he's wearing that blue cape thing, isn't it? When you first meet him. So I've started with Lando and I've finished the rib now. And then what I'm going to do is I'm using one of the colours for heels and toes. I'm going to stripe the other 4 because I won't have enough in a 20 gram mini for cuffs, heels and toes with the size that I knit for Dan. I do 72 stitches. I might have enough with 20 grams, but I also might not. I tend to think that my experience is that you use just over 20 grams for like cuffs, heels and toes for a 72 stitch sock. So I thought, no, I'll just do heels and toes and then I'll stripe the other 4. So the 4 that I'm going to stripe are these ones. I wanted ones with a nice amount of contrast. So the red one is Dark Warrior, which is Darth Maul, obviously, I would say. And then we've got Womp Rat Sharpshooter, and that's Luke, isn't it? The green and grey. And then it's this next one, I don't know what it is. It's called Last Space Wizard. What is that?
That's Luke when he's older. That's the Last Jedi.
So maybe it's Last Jedi. Maybe it is just Last Jedi.
Well, the Last
Rather
Jedi...
than being Luke again.
The Last Jedi was Luke Skywalker.
Right, okay, so it's this one.
And those colours do make me think of that stupid island where he lived with those idiotic
so
puffins.
Maybe that's what it is. Oh, right. Oh, don't go there. Yeah, we don't do that. But all those puffin things were just silly, weren't they? And don't talk to me about
Well, they had to put them in because of the puffins.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that wasn't a choice. Something had to take the place because they were flying around all over the place.
Right. But they didn't have to do that with the frog caretaker people.
Well, maybe they just thought, well, we've got stupid puffins. We
might as well have even more stupid...
Let's have some Fraggles.
Don't go there, yeah. And then the final one is Sea Droid number 3. So
I wonder who that is.
So C3PO. Is that one? And I just think they'll look lovely.
Droid number 3.
Sea Droid number 3.
That would have been a much better name than C3PO.
I know. So when I say stripe, actually what I'm going to do, it will be a stripe, but what I did was every time I make a pair of socks for Dan, I write down what I do in this little book. So I know the recipe for a shorty sock, for example, using this yarn base. So I had a look at how many rounds I'll be doing total, and then I did a bit of maths, and what I'm going to do is there'll be alternate sizes of stripes to make sure it fits. So I'm going to do 10 rounds of one, 15 of another, 10 of one, 15 of another, and that means it will end exactly at the right spot. Because you can sometimes start a scrappy sock, can't you, and you'll think I'll do 10 rounds of each, but it might be then by the time you get to the toe you might have done 3 rounds and you will have got to the right length of foot, but then it won't look even. So I always do a bit of maths and I see how many rounds I've knit previously and then I work something out. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So I've started with 15 rounds for the cuff, and then I'm going to go 10 rounds, 15, 10, 15, 10, 15, all the way down, and obviously do the heels and toes. This one, the Luke, is going to be for heels and toes. So I'll actually be striping these 4. I said that the wrong way around, didn't I? I'm striping these 4, and Luke is going to be heels and toes. Yeah. And I'm going to do a rib, but you know my feeling on doing fully ribbed socks. Ooh.
The whole sock is going to be partially ribbed.
Yeah, the whole sock is going to be fully ribbed. However, the rib I'm going to be doing is a 8x1. Because it's a 72 stitch sock, so 9 divides into that evenly. But how I'm going to split it so that actually when you look at the top of the foot, it's even on both sides. Because sometimes when you start a repeat, do you know, if I did that over, if I just did knit 8, purl 1 the whole way around, what happens is across the top of the foot it wouldn't look even because it ends on a purl 8. It ends on a purl stitch on the other side, but it starts with a knit 8 on this side. So it doesn't look even, if you know what I mean. It doesn't look symmetrical. So I'm just going to start it at a different point so that at either side of the foot, there's the same number of knit stitches.
Cool.
So we'll see how that works out. And I'm using 2.5mm Addy, whatever these are.
They're magic loop needles.
Yeah, it's Magic Loop. It's the Addy one that I really like at the moment with the red cord. They might be called sock rockets in other countries. They're not called sock rockets in Europe. It's something else. I think they're just called lace.
Right.
I think it's just Addy lace. But I really love these. They do smell a bit metally. Once, not straight away, but once it gets warm, you know, if it's a really warm day, don't go there. If it's a really warm day, then... Can you smell that?
Yes.
Yeah. That's not as bad as it gets. I feel like I've been
plumbing.
I know. But I'm persevering because I really like the needles and I've kind of sort of got used to it a little bit.
That's all right.
But they do smell a bit metally, especially when it's warm. So yeah, that is my new Dan sock that I'm going to be working on. I've just got to wind these lovely minis. I wound one yesterday, this one, and I put it on my Swift, but then I wound it by hand. The circumference of it, I think what Stacey must do is she obviously must dye them in a bigger skein and then winds the minis separately. But the circumference of the skein was like this. It was massive. It only just fit on my Swift, which I thought was really funny. So the amount of work that must go into producing these, I can't even imagine. So I was really, really grateful that I managed to snag one of them. So I'll let you know how that goes. Dan Jones,
yes.
What's on your needles?
What's off my needles?
Oh.
It's a sock. Look.
Oh, you finished?
It's marvellous.
Oh, it looks lovely.
This is a Moss Eccles sock.
Holding that in a very peculiar position. There we go. That's gorgeous.
Yes, I've never knitted a sock before where I've been so surprised that I knitted it.
Oh, and the yarn's lovely.
Normally, there's sections on a sock, and I mean, this one's a bit of a perfectionist. Look.
Did you pick up the corners or did I do that?
You did them.
All right. Fair enough. I thought it looked pretty good.
I'm still watching. I watch and I video. I make my own videos. There are tutorials for this, but I watch Kay do it and I make videos. But
it was trickier with this one because you've got pattern.
Yes.
In that corner.
Yes.
Where you pick up, so that does make it trickier.
Yes.
So I have to really look and pay attention to where I'm picking up because I always pick up 2 stitches in the gap.
This is definitely, though, it's my new favourite thing is knitting socks for our daughter Bryony, and the reason being is she loves socks.
That's why I always give all my blooming socks to Bryony.
Yeah, it's cool.
Because she loves them so much. It's really hard not to, I finished a pair of socks and I'm like, I should keep these for myself. But then I know how much she loves them and I know how much she enjoys picking a pair every day to wear.
It's stupendous.
Talk
about knitworthy. There's nothing better, really. So what I've done with these is I went a little bit longer on the leg so she could wear them with her Doc Martens.
Yeah, she's got yellow Doc Martens.
Yes. So my hope is that they'll just poke out the top just slightly, which would be really cool.
Yeah.
So she can wear them when she starts 6th form in September. So finished this one and got the new one cast on, and I've totally realised something, and that is...
Oh, what have you done wrong?
I haven't done anything wrong. I don't seem to have a problem getting going on DPNs.
Oh, well, that's good.
I only seem to have a problem...
Oh, you mean Mobiusing?
Yeah, I'm Mobius on Magic Loop.
It's a bigger... Magic Loop.
On a circular.
A circular.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, you don't use Magic Loop.
No, I certainly don't. I find it insulting.
He hates it.
Look, I just can't... It's like trying to wrestle an eel. I just can't do it. It's just too much. So, on circular... That is where I have the problem, and I wish I could identify what it is that I'm doing wrong.
I think it's just
because I can't spot it.
I think it's just because you've got a lot more stitches, haven't you? And it's all on that one cable, and the cable moves around. Whereas your your metal DPNs, they don't move, do they?
And they're square. Because they're cubics.
Oh, it's the square ones. Yeah, you love those, don't you?
Well, you can just keep things really,
they're
really
nice
in
and pointy
check.
as well. They've got lovely pointy needle,
but not too pointy, because I've had problems with too pointy things and it messing with my fingers.
That was the Chowgoo red lace.
Yes, you hate those. Really don't like those at all. These, it's pointy, but pointy to a perfect sort of level.
And you've been knitting lace on them without a problem, haven't you? All the yarn.
Absolutely marvellous. Absolutely marvellous.
Something went awry there. What's that all about there?
That's where the yarn broke and got rejoined.
Right, okay. It shouldn't look like that on the front, though. You've not woven it in neatly enough.
No, but I need to do it to get better at it.
Right, okay.
I went across and across like you do on the video.
I think you might have pulled too tight.
Yeah, well, the tension is just too much. I certainly didn't pull, but I've just done it with too much tension.
Yeah. I mean, as long as it's secure, that's the main thing.
Oh, it's definitely secure. But it's not coming apart.
The yarn's really pretty. I dyed this yarn. I couldn't tell you what I did. Not a clue.
Well, you probably got some dye, stick it in a pot, put the yarn in.
Well, I just keep... Well, thank you, darling. I just meant what colours and what method and...
Oh.
Not a clue.
Does everything look okay down here?
Yeah.
Cool.
Why? Were
No,
you
just
worried?
wondered. No, that's great.
They look good. And she tried it on, didn't she? And it looked lovely, you said. I didn't see it.
Yes. She tried it on. Loved it.
She'll love having another pair of those because she wears the green ones that I knit. This is the Moss Eccles pattern. Did you say that?
I did.
Oh, right, okay.
I'm a good boy.
But she wears the green ones all the time.
So, the other thing that I've established... So, yeah, I think it's a couple of shows ago I showed this, and maybe more. This is when... Oh, no, maybe it's just a couple. I think it's fairly recently.
Oh, yeah, you went wrong, didn't you?
Where I'd established that me putting socks down is a bad idea. Normally I rotate my projects every couple of weeks, keeps things nice and fresh. And I came to the conclusion that that's when the problems were arising, because I'd knitted through the first section without a problem and everything was great, put them away for a couple of weeks, got them back out again, and I went wrong. So I've constantly been going at these, and there wasn't one more problem.
No.
So that is a big learning point for me. I really like doing things like that. You know, when you're doing something which is a challenge, and it's a challenge for me because it's the needles are thin. I've got really big hands. You know, it's thin yarn. It's a positive challenge. Really enjoy it. But you know, if you're doing something challenging and things are going wrong, if you can find out where they're going wrong, then you can do something about it. And we weren't certain. The last time I spoke about this, I said I'm going to carry on knitting it. I'm not going to put it down, and I'll see if I'm making any mistakes. And I haven't made one.
No.
So I'm feeling really, really good about it.
But you're going to put a progress keeper underneath your first needle, aren't you?
Yes. Yeah, that was the other thing that I learnt.
Yeah.
Because also it looks pretty.
Yes. I mean, I don't use the really pretty progress
it doesn't need to be
keepers.
pretty. I like the bulb ones.
Yeah, I mean, I've got loads of the pretty dangly progress keepers, but...
That'd wind me up.
No, it doesn't wind me up. But the problem for me is that they all seem to... Because they're quite heavy, really, comparatively, in terms of a stitch. I always find they pull the stitch down.
Yeah.
And that just irritates me. So I always end up just using the light bulb ones and just the really simple, solid ring stitch markers.
So that's my Moss Eccles socks, and yeah, enjoying those, and let's see how fast, because I've definitely sped up knitting on them constantly. Let's see how fast I get through this next sock. What else is on your needles?
Well, my next project is actually currently in a box. I need to... It's in a box.
It's living in a box.
It's living in a cardboard box. It is a
living in a
cardboard
box.
I know.
Yeah, I know, that was the lyrics.
And I carried on with it.
And then I carried on with it afterwards.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
And who was the band? We Close Our Eyes. Go West.
Go West.
Yeah.
I wanted to say Go West, but I wasn't sure. Was it Go West?
Yeah.
Oh, I used to love Go West.
Has anyone seen the Jimmy Kimmel and...
Yeah. I've seen that. You showed it to me.
Jimmy Kimmel and Ant-Man.
It's so brilliant.
Paul, the guy from Friends, Phoebe's husband.
Yes.
I can't remember his
surname.
It's another thing. Happened to my gran, now it's happened to me.
Oh, it happens to me all the time. I can't remember names and things.
But yeah, they did a video and they did a direct copy of We Close Our Eyes.
We Close Our Eyes.
Yeah, it's very funny.
Yeah, but back in the day, I loved Go West.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Go West always makes me think of... it makes me think of the Pet Shop Boys.
Oh, I didn't like the Pet Shop Boys.
Neither did I. What was that song that they sang? Go...
They're all boring, aren't they? Oh, yeah.
Is it Go West?
It might be.
It is.
Were they like all sort of sailorish and
like
military or so, marching or something?
Yeah, and I think they're doing that.
I think it might be Go West.
I don't believe it. I thought it couldn't be Go West because that's the name of the band, but
I'm singing it in my head and I can't think of what those two words could be.
I think it is Go West. Yeah.
But yeah, I was never a Pet Shop Boys fan,
Me neither.
unfortunately. most 80s music I loved, because I seem to know all the 80s music, don't I?
Pre-85, post-85, I'm good.
Right,
Yes.
That's you, is because
yes. You know all 80s music. I'm only good. Many bands that disappeared by 85, I've not got a clue what I'm listening to.
You were younger than me.
Yes. Whereas over 85 and away, Erasure, I love them.
I loved Erasure. They were great.
Oh, Sometimes. The video for Sometimes on a roof. Brilliant. It's marvellous.
This is the day of the music video, isn't it, in the 80s? This is the era of the music videos, and they were just the most bizarre, fabulous things you've ever seen.
If you're talking bizarre, fabulous music videos, you don't get any better. I know you don't like her very much.
Who?
But Jennifer, the crazy one.
The crazy one?
Babushka.
Kate Bush?
Kate Bush.
No, I wasn't a fan of Kate Bush, although she's having a revival, isn't she, at the moment, which is amazing.
Her videos are epic.
Yeah, they were, that's right.
They're like movies.
Yeah, I was just never a fan of Kate Bush back in the day, but I think it's amazing that she's having so much success now.
The best video of all, Wuthering
Heights.
Heights.
That we don't watch. What is it?
Where she's in that flowy dress.
Yeah, I know. And her hair was just crazy, wasn't it?
The best video of all was the one about clouds. Cloud busting.
Oh, right.
The video for cloud busting is absolutely superb.
Right.
And it's superb because I'm convinced that video was played before Back to the Future in the cinema on the original run.
Oh, right, okay.
And Kate Bush is with a crazy professor who looks just like Doc Brown with a machine that gets rid of clouds and makes the sun come out or something or other.
Right.
It's brilliant. Anyway, what's living in your box?
Well, what's living in my cardboard box? What was living in the cardboard box in that song?
I can't remember. I'm sorry.
No, he was.
I'm living in a box.
I'm a living in a box.
Yeah.
Why was he living in a box? Was he homeless?
Probably something to do with love.
Oh, right.
No, maybe not.
Maybe
in the
not.
80s. I don't know.
Who knows? Right. Yes. So, in this box, I have got many, many mini skeins. Oh, it's the episode of mini skeins. No, my other thing is...
Most shows are the episode of mini skeins.
Well, that is... Well, okay. Well,
That's fine.
Look, it's better than eating chocolate.
Show us your box,
isn't
woman.
It? It's better than eating chocolate. Right, in here is this. Shall I show you? Look, can you see? Oh, you're all a bit jealous, aren't you? You might all have the equivalent of this, so you might not be jealous at all. But in this box is 2 advent calendars from Sherry Iris. There's a 24 mini and there's a 12 mini. I was very lucky to get these last December, and I was opening them every day. I had no clue what I was going to do with them. I was a bit overwhelmed, if I'll be completely honest, because I just thought I can't handle what I'm going to do with these. But recently I thought, do you know what? I don't want those to just sit there. I want to use them. And I've started a project, and I've started a slow crochet project. And I'm saying a slow crochet project because I've realised that my issue with crochet, do you know when I get that dodgy shoulder? I think it's because I have a tendency when I'm crocheting is I speed up. And, I get to I think I'm quite fast when I'm crocheting. And I think it's that repetitive speed that, the movements, the quick movements over and over and over. And I think that's what's been getting my shoulder. Now, I've discovered doing this, that if I just deliberately slow down, so my speed, first of all, and how much I'm doing, then I've been all right doing this. So what I'm going to do, and what I am doing, is I'm making granny squares with the ultimate aim to crochet them all together into a blanket. But I'm not going to do that till I've done all of the squares, and I'll tell you why in a second. So at the moment, what I'm doing is I'm just crocheting granny squares, but I'm using the entire 20 grams. If you remember, I did a little experiment recently, didn't I, where I crocheted a granny square using 20 grams of yarn, just to see how big it was, to see whether I liked the size, and I did. Luckily, because I discovered with that one that I did, the yarn base I was using was a different base to this one. And I think I must have more yardage in these minis of Sherry's, must have slightly more yardage than the yarn I was using, because the other square I only got 13 rounds, and I was a bit funny about that. I'm not superstitious, but I just didn't like the idea of 13 rounds for some reason. However, with these, I'm getting 14 rounds. Perfect. And I've got just the teeniest bit left. I've done 2 so far. Look, this is all I've got left. But I'm keeping these because what I'm going to do at the end is I'm going to magic loop. No, I'm not. I'm going to magic knot all of these bits together and see if I've got enough then to make another 1 or 2 squares out of all the leftovers. So I will have used literally every tiny bit. And I think it will make quite a nice sized blanket. So I'll show you that I've done 2 squares so far. So this was the first one. Oh, it's lovely. This one's like greys and peaches and sort of yellows. And then I just finished this morning this sort of mulberry sort of colour, maybe purpley mulberry. And I think I crocheted a little bit tighter on this one because I had a little bit more left over. But when I've measured them together, I mean, they're the same. They're the same size, really. But I think with anything, you do have little differences in gauge, don't you? But I think ultimately with granny squares, I don't think it really matters if you do have tiny differences in gauge, because I've made granny square blankets before where I've used all bases of yarn, and some did come out slightly bigger than the other because the base was thicker. But once you've crocheted them all together, it all evens out. It's all absolutely fine. So that's the 2 I've done so far. And, as you saw, I've done the whole of the 20 gram mini, which just feels brilliant. Because I've done so many projects with mini skeins where you just use maybe 10 grams or even less of each of the minis. And I just find that a bit like, oh, what am I going to do with this extra little bit that's left over? And I thought it'll just be so nice just to use the entire mini and just have something lovely at the end. So the reason I'm not going to start crocheting these together until I've done them all is because I've done that in the past with blankets. And I get to a stage where I'm like, is that big enough? And I say it's big enough just because I don't want to maybe do it anymore at that point. And I finish it and maybe it's not quite big enough. It's big enough for a lap blanket, say, but maybe it might have been nicer a bit bigger. And I thought if I this time make the granny squares, and I can put this down whenever I want, I could just decide, right, I'm going to leave it for a bit and just pop it all back in the box, pop it up on my shelf. And it's not like I've got something languishing because there's nothing unfinished in there. These squares are finished. There's no other work to do on them. The ends are woven in, and I can just pick it up whenever I want to. So I really like that sort of feeling of it. It doesn't feel like I'm halfway through something or whatever, just because I'm sort of finishing each thing. So I've started a 3rd one this morning. I've just got a teeny tiny...
All finished.
teeny tiny start. This one's lovely. Sort of greens and purple. It's a really delicate colour. It's really sweet. So I think it'll be a really nice project, and I'm using what I always use with granny squares and granny. It's a clover, yeah. But I always, with granny blankets, granny stripes and granny squares, I always use a 3mm hook because I just like the denseness that you get. I don't like things that are really gappy. That's the other thing I'll say. The square that I'm using, I've actually done a tutorial for this, so patrons can access the tutorial. I think it's called Perfectly Square Granny Square.
It's called a Perfectly Square Square.
Oh, right, okay, there you go then. Because...
I couldn't fit the granny on the screen.
Oh, right, okay. And everybody can see it's a granny square,
yes,
can't they?
Yes.
Because the difference with this square, I find there's a couple of differences. One is it's a bit more solid. Can you see it's not as gappy as a normal granny square? I think, anyway. And also, it's really square. I think the bigger you make granny squares, they have a tendency to sort of look a bit twisted. So I actually turn my work after every round. I think that's a fairly common thing. I don't think it's unusual. But I find by doing that, it keeps everything really square. And these haven't been blocked yet, but you can see how lovely and square it is all the way around. So yeah, I'm just going to carry on, and I've got a few. I've just wound up. I've got that one I've shown you, and then I've got these two coming up next, a sort of peach and a blue. And then when I've done those, I'll just go back into this lovely box, choose 2 or 3 more, wind them up, and do the next ones. So I just think that's a really nice, like, slow, no rush, no agenda, no nothing. And I'll do my join as you go method, and I'm going to use a bright white. I'm not going to use cream because because in here there's quite a lot of them that look pale like that. There's quite a lot of blues actually that are fairly similar, but they're very similar, aren't they? But I will dot them around, the squares that look sort of similar. Yeah, I mean, I did find actually, yeah, they're lovely, but I did find that there were quite a few that looked sort of similar within the thing. But this type of a project, I think that's fine, because like I said, I can just distribute them and dot them around wherever I want to, and that'll be absolutely fine. And I'm loving having a bit of crochet on the go as well, and I'm just doing no more than half an hour at a time. If I've done half an hour, I put it down. More likely, I might just do it for sort of 10 or 15 minutes. If I've got 10 or 15 minutes, I'm like, right, okay, I'll do a little bit of crochet, and that's working for me. So, yay for a bit of crochet.
That's lovely, and it's a lovely idea as well, putting it in a lovely box.
Well, no, it came in this box.
Oh, okay. Right.
This was the box that the 24 one came in, when you purchase from Sherry, you get it in one of these lovely boxes. So yeah. I will just keep it in this box. If I'm out and about anywhere, I'll just stick a couple of minis in a bag with the hook. I can do that, but ultimately I'm just going to keep it all in this box because it also keeps the squares nice and flat.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's the Staka.
Oh, look at that.
I think I pronounced it right. I hope so anyway. It's weird doing the colour work at the bottom, but...
Oh, have you not done that before?
It's fun.
Is that another bite on your finger?
No, I hope not. Oh, yeah. Oh, she's done it now.
Is it a bite? I don't know that it is a bite. Oh.
I spray that stuff everywhere.
Yeah,
Look, they don't bite me where I've sprayed it, but how do you spray your hand when you're squirting it with your right hand?
I know.
I mean, I do sort of rub stuff around, but anyway, I'm now no longer... Anyone will know, with the walks over the last 2 years and with Walking the Wall this year, I come back pretty much unscathed. But, it's those little spots, like sock lines and, on the arm of a... it's like,
little
sometimes you've just got to... Anyway.
Yeah.
But, yes, look, it's great fun. It really is great fun.
Shall I try and spread it out a bit so you can see the colour work?
Don't drop any of my stitches.
I won't drop... I'm going to keep my hand there, look.
Wonderful.
I won't drop anything.
So these are the lovely colourways, which are great. That's such a nice colour. You could do so much with that.
It's a good grey, that.
Yeah.
I can't remember the numbers of these, but there's so many different shades of grey, I think, in...
And lots of these, obviously, because this is the main colour of the project.
Yeah.
But it's like the tank top, the V-neck that I'm knitting for Kay, which...
it's a great colour, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think this colour's going to look lovely, and I'm going to wear it with like a white shirt underneath it.
Cool.
And probably jeans. I think that'll look great, won't it?
Yeah.
Ooh, we finish it like for the autumn or something. Well, not the autumn. If you finish it for sort of the end of the year,
it's going great.
Then I could wear it maybe Christmas time, and that'd be lovely.
Definitely.
It looks great. I love that main purpley colour.
Yes.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? It's like a purpley pink.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how you describe that colour.
To me, when I look at it, I see more pink than purple.
Do you?
It's funny, that. But when you say purple, I go, oh, yeah.
I don't know what shade
I'm not very good
of...
with colours.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how I would describe that colour in a word. Somebody out there will tell me, won't they? Because it's not maroon, it's not red enough to be maroon.
Yeah.
It's like a sort of... It's not really aubergine,
It is sort of edging towards...
It's edging towards aubergine, but it's not purple, and it's not dark enough to be aubergine, is it?
No. This is the only time that I use the circular... Is that right?
Yeah, that is a chaga, isn't it?
It's not sharp at all, but I'm really thinking about knitting. I'm fascinated by...
Knitting in pieces?
No.
Oh, shame.
I'm fascinated by the Gansey approach.
Oh, on double points?
Yes. on the
really long double points.
On the long double points. I'm really fascinated by that. So I feel like at some point I'm going to need to try that. I also really quite fancy knitting a Gansey at some point.
Yeah.
That'd be just amazing
so
fun.
beautiful, proper Ganseys.
Hard work.
They're knit at a really tight gauge.
Yes.
The traditional ones are, because they wanted it to be as waterproof as possible for the fishermen.
You'd need a robust yarn, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I think traditionally there is a traditional yarn. I think that's used sort of commonly now. You want quite a rustic, proper wool, not superwash, because superwash I don't think is as water repellent as a non-superwash.
Definitely
not.
Yeah. So progressing nicely, enjoying it very much, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens when I get to the top, because that's when they're going flat and then seaming at the top. But like I said when I showed you this first time, I have done that once before, and I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed doing. It's a 3 needle bind off, I think.
I think so, on the shoulders.
Yes.
Yeah, you've done that before.
I have.
I think
and I loved it.
It's really easy.
Oh.
What?
Oh, I thought I was clever.
Well, you are clever to be able to do it, darling, but it's not a tricky technique, is it?
No.
Needle. I like doing 3 needle binding.
Super effective, actually. Super effective. That was on the top of the Samantha.
Right.
Yeah. What else is on your needles?
So the last thing, I need a sock blocker, actually.
Oh, I put it away.
I know, I meant to say when you had yours on it. The last thing is one of my Christmas in July projects, and I've nearly finished it, but I haven't quite. And the only thing that stopped me finishing it is just because it's been so blinking hot this past week, and I lost about 3 days knitting, really, because it was just I couldn't even just couldn't do it. Otherwise these would have been finished. And it's my socks that I'm knitting with the homespun house yarn. So this is the finished one. I love that red. The red's lovely, isn't it? So this was a sock set that I got last December from Molly at a homespun house, and it's a soft sock, which is the most gorgeous base. You get 480 metres, but that's with 120 grams. 75-25, and it's Christmas in Hogwarts 2021. I love her labels, they're lovely. So this was the one I'd finished last time, and I'm doing my crunkled pattern in the sort of body of the sock, but then I've put in the heel, which is in my lattice topped socks. This is like a mock short row heel. It looks like a short row heel, but you don't work it like a short row heel. And I spent ages actually working out the right technique for getting this neat corner, and it's equally as neat on both sides. And there's videos within that lattice top sock pattern showing you how to, what I did to make sure you get neat corners. So that's the first sock, and the second sock is so nearly finished. I'm at the toe, for goodness sake, but I just couldn't get it finished. I've literally just got the toe to finish, so I'm actually going to do that today. I'm going to finish the toe off, and then we'll have a completed pair for next time. But here's the second sock. You can see I'm right down to the toe, and I've just got the toe to knit, which takes me, I think it takes me sort of maybe 40 minutes to knit a toe. I'm just sort of saying that from when I did that timed sock series. I just paid more attention to how long things took me, and I think it's about 40 minutes. I think if I was really pushing it and in a huge rush and I was knitting really fast, I might be able to do it in 30 minutes, but I don't like knitting super fast because I don't think it's really good for you hands to be that stressed knitting really fast when that's not your natural thing. So about 40 minutes and I should have these done, so I'll have a lovely pair of finished socks for next time. So that's how the heel sort of sits within the sock. Looks very much like a short row heel, I think, but it actually fits really well. When I first put this into the sock pattern, I'm always a bit like with a short row heel because of the fit, because I don't like the Fish Lips Kiss, which I'm presuming it's still a popular heel. I know it was really popular a few years back, and I think it's still a popular heel, but I did try it and I didn't care for it for a few reasons. This technique is a different technique to a short row. It's not short rows because I don't like working short rows. I find them a bit faffy and a bit irritating. And I don't like, you can get little gaps as well, and this one isn't gappy at all, I don't think, where you on the sides you get a really neat finish. So yeah, I'm almost done. Just got a toe to knit in the lovely red yarn, and then I will have a finished pair. And I'm going to keep an eye out. I don't know that I don't think I get a newsletter from Molly. I must check actually, because I would, if she does this again this year. It was a mystery set, so if she does this again this year for the Harry Potter thing, Christmas at Hogwarts, then I think I will try and get another one, because I've just so enjoyed knitting it. The sock, the base is lovely, the colours are really nice. I like the sort of stripy thing that is done, and I know you never know how a sock's going to knit up, do you? But in this circumstance, I really like how you get those stripes. I think it's lovely. So yeah, almost done with my first Christmas in July project, and the other one, my cowl that I'm knitting, the Christingle Mingle, I've been working on it every day. Again, I just dropped a bit behind because of the hot weather, but I'm sure that I will also have that one done for next time. Fingers crossed.
Folks, I'm so excited to introduce the next segment, because earlier on this year, Kay started a series where she started sharing recipes for the way we eat now. And whilst rich food doesn't really agree with us anymore, sometimes you just want to disappear into a darkened room with a nice slice of cake or a gorgeous biscuit. So yes, Kay is back with a brand new episode of Kay's Cosy Kitchen, where she's going to share with you exactly what we do when we want to disappear into that darkened room.
I love cake. But I've reached the point in my life where cake no longer likes me.
What if I was to tell you that there is a solution?
A way that we can eat delicious meals and still feel great afterwards. In this series, I'm going to show you how I do it, and there won't just be puddings.
There'll be retro dinners and storeroom staples too.
This is going to be so much fun, so welcome to my cosy kitchen. Welcome everybody to Kay's Cosy Kitchen. I should say welcome back, shouldn't I? Because yes, we are back in the kitchen today, and today we are, oh, you're in for a treat. You're all in for such a treat, because today we're going to be working with there's like an ingredient that's within both of the things that I'm going to make today. So there's two things that we're going to make, and there's kind of a common element that runs through them. And this sort of references back to the way that we eat now, and this particular ingredient plays quite a key part actually in mine and Dan's sort of daily routine. And the key ingredient that I'm talking about is ginger. Now, the ginger that's in the two recipes that we're going to be doing today is not in the sort of form that we actually consume ginger. We actually have regular ginger shots, which are brilliant. And I've all sorts of, I guess I should just briefly sort of say why we have ginger every day. And it's not necessarily because I got used to it, but initially I really didn't like having ginger shots. And but the reason we have them is it's just a really good thing to have for your kind of digestion and things like that. To be honest, it's got loads of reputed to have loads of medicinal properties, ginger, and it's been used, I think, going back sort of a long time as a part of a sort of natural remedy. But we've certainly found that having a regular ginger shot every day is really helpful. So what I've started to do is kind of incorporate ginger into treat things, if you like, into my baking a lot more than I ever did. And the two things we're going to be making today are really regular things that we now eat. If I want to bake, I don't bake as much as I used to, because we do try and limit the amount of sort of sugars and things that we have. But sometimes it's nice to have a bit of a treat, isn't it? And today I'm going to be showing you the two things. So the two things that we now have regularly are, first of all, it's a sticky gingerbread cake, and it's honestly so delicious. It's so yummy. I've made it loads of times and it's the best. I've tried lots of ginger cake recipes. This one is the best one that I've ever tried. And then the other thing we're going to be making is some soft ginger nuts. Now ginger nuts, if you're in this country, you'll know what a ginger nut is. I don't know whether this is like a global biscuit. I really don't know. But a ginger nut, if you don't know, is a very crisp ginger biscuit that you can get really, really easily in this country. It's very well known. But what I do with my recipe is I make it so that it's actually soft. So it's, you know, it has that soft centre. And that just, it just transforms it. Because ginger nuts for me are, you know, they're quite hard. They're quite hard biscuit. Great for dunking actually, because they are a hard biscuit. But with this recipe I'm going to be showing you, you get a really soft ginger nut. So the first of those two things that we are going to be making are the soft ginger nuts. So first of all, let's take a look at what we are going to need. Flour. Now as always I'm using the white spelt flour. If you don't want to use spelt, then just plain white flour is what you need. We've then got baking powder, ground ginger and some ground mixed spice. Now what I'll say about mixed spice is I've tried lots of different brands of mixed spice. I've found that there are different combinations of spices in them. This one is my favourite and it's by Schwartz. So it's Schwartz mixed spice, and the spices that are in it, if I can see from this distance, are cinnamon, coriander seeds and nutmeg. It's just 3 spices that are in here, and I think sometimes, well quite commonly I think you also get cloves in mixed spice. This one doesn't have cloves. I love this mixed spice. It's a very warm, almost sweet taste to it. So if you can get Schwartz, then I would really recommend that you use this one. We've then got some butter, just normal salted butter. You can use unsalted if you want to. I just prefer the flavour of salted butter. We've then got some light soft brown sugar. And finally, the magical ingredient is golden syrup. So that's all of our ingredients. Let's now just have a look at the few utensils that we're going to need to make them. Right, so just really very few things you're going to need, and I'm sure you will all have these in your cupboards. So just a nice roomy mixing bowl, weighing scales, really important that you have weighing scales. I use scales for everything that I bake and don't use any other sort of measurements. I think weighing everything is the key with baking. Just measuring spoon, I just need a teaspoon measuring spoon, and then I'm just going to use a big sort of dessert spoon just for mixing. And then here I've got 2 baking trays ready, and I've just lined these with a non-stick foil. I mean, you can use baking parchment if you prefer, but you just want your surface to be non-stick. So that's everything we're going to need for our lovely biscuits, so it's time to get baking. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to put all of our kind of dry ingredients into a bowl. So just pop your bowl on the scales and zero-ize. So the first thing we're going to pop in is the flour. So the flour's going in. I need 230 grams. So this is why, I mean, I always use scales, and I know in some countries they use sort of a cup to measure, but I just like to be really accurate, and I'm never convinced that I can get it accurate enough with the cup measurements. 230. And then I'm going to pop in the baking powder, and we want a teaspoon of that. And then we're going to put in the spices. So the ground ginger first, and I'm going to put in again a teaspoon. And it wants to be, I mean, if you want them, I mean, this produces a biscuit that really for me is quite spicy. If you want it super spicy, then put more ginger in. If you want it less spicy, then maybe put in like half a teaspoon. But I'm going to put in a nice rounded teaspoon of ginger. and then a little bit of the mixed spice. Now, I think traditionally you wouldn't put mixed spice into a ginger biscuit, but I just find the combination of these two together is just so lovely. Oh, that spoon doesn't fit in, so I actually put in, I've got a 1/4 teaspoon measure here, and it is about a 1/4 teaspoon. I sort of heaped a 1/4 teaspoon, like that, of the mixed spice, and then the sugar. So it's the light brown sugar, and I've got 100 grams, and I've sieved this. I always find actually with soft sugars, sort of light brown sugars or dark brown sugars, you can get like little sort of pebbly lumps in there where it's sort of clumped together. So if you sieve it and then just rub the lumps through the sieve, it all comes out like sand, I suppose. So in that goes. Oh, I weighed it right, look, 100 grams. And then just give this all a mix, just to distribute everything through the flour. It's so simple, this recipe. It's really, really easy, and I think a brilliant one again for children. You know, I do like to do recipes that are really good for children to make as well, and this one is really very child friendly, I would say. So now you will have a sort of lovely pale brown floury substance, and now we're going to put in what is essentially the wet ingredients of the golden syrup and the butter. So what I've just done with the butter is I've got it really, really soft, so it doesn't want to be melted, it just wants to be really soft like this. So what I do is I put it in the microwave for just sort of 5-second blasts and keep checking it, and you just want it to be really, really soft like that, but not melted. So we've got 80 grams of that really soft butter going in, and then golden syrup we want 110 grams. So just squeeze that in, and I just sort of stop every few seconds to let the scales kind of catch up. There we go, 110. So now all I'm going to do is go in just with I like using just a metal spoon. If you want to use a wooden spoon, that's fine. And just sort of mix it like this. And this is why your butter needs to be really soft. If you butter straight from the fridge, you can't do this. You'll be fighting a losing battle. So just keep going like this, working in the butter and the syrup until you get to the point where it's coming together to form a dough. Now, it might be that you need just a little spot of milk to bring it fully together, but it just really depends on like the flour you use and the conditions in your kitchen, all those kinds of things. So really give it a good stir until you can't see any flour anymore. See, at the moment you can still see flour. When I've done these before, I have just had to add just a little splash of milk, but we'll see what happens today. It smells lovely. And when all your flour is gone, just judge it. See, it's not for me coming together into a complete ball of dough at the moment, so I am just going to add a little tiny spot of milk like that, and then give that a mix in, and you'll probably find that that's enough just to bring it together. I can see that that's going to be fine now, because we can't see any flour now, and I can just feel with my spoon that that is going to come together into a nice dough. So now we can get rid of the spoon and just bring it together with your hand into a nice ball. And you can see how easily that comes together into a nice ball of dough. And then just give it a few little squeezes just to even up the mixture, if you like. Like that. Oh, that's the oven. That reminds me, I need to tell you that I've preheated my oven to 180 degrees. That's a fan oven, and that's now at temperature, which is good. So I've now got my dough in there, and what we're going to do now is we're going to divide it into individual little biscuit portions. Now, I've tried doing this two ways, and I prefer the biscuits done this way. You can, if you want to, take that dough out now and roll it out and cut out shapes and do it that way. I have done it that way, but I've also done it just where we're going to shape them by hand. And actually, I think you get a nicer looking biscuit if you shape them by hand. So that's what I'm going to do. So I just need a knife. So this amount of mixture is going to make about 16 biscuits. So what I do is just sort of divide it, but this is all by eye. I mean, you can weigh it if you want to, but I just do it by eye. So I've halved it, so each of these halves is going to give me 8 biscuits. So the easiest way actually I've found is to make this into kind of a sausage, because then you can divide it much easier. So just make that into a sausage. Just move that over here. And then I'm going to divide this into 8. So I just do half. So that's, each of these now needs to be 4. There you go. And then we'll deal with these, and then I'll do the same with the other half. So what I'm then going to do is take each of these little sections, just give them a little roll on your hand like that, and then just pop it on the palm of your hand and just flatten it with the heel of your, what's this bit? Your thumb, I don't know. Just sort of flatten it out until it's about the size, you know, the roundness is about the size of your palm, and then just peel it off and pop it on your tray. These will spread as they cook, so you need to leave a good amount of space, but I just find this is way more fun than rolling it out. I just, you know, how fun is this? Well, it is. And kids will love doing it, I think. So just roll into a little circle and then flatten a bit on your hand. And what it does by hand shaping them like this is the surface of the biscuit it'll have like a sort of cracked appearance, like on a ginger nut. And I find that much more appealing than the sort of smooth finish you get if you cut them out, whoops-a-daisy, with a cutter. Hang on, I'm going to do that one again because I broke it. But it's entirely up to you. If you want really pretty shaped biscuits, then, you know, by all means use a cutter. So I'm just going to carry on shaping these and filling up my trays. I'll have 8 on each tray. Right, so they're now ready for the oven. So I'm going to pop them into that preheated oven at 180-degree fan for about 10 to 12 minutes. Now this is the key thing with them. To get that sort of soft, chewy centre, you don't want to overbake them. So you want to take them out when the kind of edges of them are nice and golden, but the centre will still look a little bit paler than the outside. So for me, I've found that's about 12 minutes when I've done them before, but I'm saying 10 to 12 because it just depends on your oven. So just keep an eye on them and don't let them go too far. They'll still taste great, but you'll lose a bit of that chewiness in the centre. So I'm going to pop those in the oven, and then very quickly they'll be done. We will take them out, just let them cool on a cooling rack, and then we can taste them. So our biscuits have now cooled, and what you actually end up with, your biscuits will spread on the baking sheet and you get this quite big biscuit, but it's not super thick or anything, but it's a great size. Don't you think? Oh, that's exciting to think you can eat that whole biscuit. And it'll be nice and golden on the back and sort of that nicely more sort of tinged golden around the outside and a bit sort of paler in the middle. And then when you break it, because this is the best bit for me, if you break it, I'll do it this way, it wants to go that way. I don't know if you can tell, but can you see how soft that is? It didn't snap. You don't want to snap, these are really soft. So you get that softness in the middle, and then out towards the edge, it's a little bit more crisp. And the day after you make these, they might be a bit more crisp, you know. that softness might have hardened up a little bit if you have them like the day after or the day after that. I mean, I'm not going to say they last a week. They probably would in a tin or a biscuit barrel, but they just won't last that long. It's the only reason I'm saying that. So I'm just going to break a piece off and try. I feel like I need to sit here and just have a little minute with my biscuit. They're sweet and spicy and just sort of caramelly a little bit as well because we use brown sugar. Oh, they're absolutely delicious. Simple to make, quick to cook, absolutely delicious. I can't think of anybody that wouldn't like these. They're so yummy. So I'm going to go away now and happily finish my biscuit. So I will see you back in part 2 when excitedly we are going to be making that sticky gingerbread cake. Honestly, it's fabulous. There's too much ginger fabulousness going on to it. Can you have too much ginger fabulousness? I think not. So I will see you back very soon in part 2 for more baking.
Folks, I've always been sceptical about cutesy words like Moorish until I had one of those biscuits. Because one, I'm not kidding now, one very quickly becomes 3.
Yeah.
Before you know it, you're thinking, I've got to stop. I can't have any more. Now, I tell you what's interesting. I cannot eat sweet things anymore without having like a crash afterwards. I just get
You mean like sweets, don't you?
anything really sweet.
Yeah.
Those I can eat till they're coming out of my ears.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Because, there's quite a bit of sugar in them and there's a lot of sugar in the cake. But we don't have issues with either of them.
No. Shall I tell you the other thing about those biscuits? Bought biscuits, cookies, as many people in America would know, just don't cut it with me at all.
No, neither of us eat bought biscuits
They're
anymore.
dry.
Do we? No, well,
They're dry, they're overly sweet. They're just not enjoyable.
you see, traditionally a biscuit was a dry thing. That's where it originated from, an actual biscuit. But nowadays,
when you make those chocolate things,
yeah, they're nice.
They're dry, but they're not like a bought biscuit dry.
No, I think they've got to be. Bought biscuits have got to be dry
To
because
last.
they've got to last, haven't they?
There's just such a huge. It's like a chasm difference between a bought biscuit out of a packet and a homemade biscuit.
Yeah.
They're just divine. They're
They
absolutely
are super
amazing.
yummy, and the fact that they're soft as well. Bryony loves that they're soft rather than being really hard and crunchy.
And it really brings back memories, those, because I so remember making brandy snaps when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And brandy snaps, they really are challenging because if you overdo those, they taste all burnt and horrible.
They're really tricky, and you've got to quickly mould them because they go hard really quickly.
And it's bicarb, isn't it? That's what makes them go all bubbly.
Yeah, holy, yeah.
Holy.
I've actually never made brandy snaps because it's not something. I think you'd have to be like entertaining, maybe.
It's a funny thing because it is more like a confection than a biscuit.
It's not a biscuit. A brandy snap's not a biscuit.
Because is it just effectively like rolled bubbly sugar?
Sort of.
Right. That's a very layman's term.
Yeah, sort of. And traditionally you would. I think you might put cream inside there, might you?
Yeah, squirty cream.
Or you might have one on the side of a bowl of ice cream. Whenever I had them, I just sort of shattered them and broke them into bits. And then ate it. But then the problem is if they hit the ice cream, they get even harder, don't they?
Yeah,
so
they do.
They're like...
Yeah. Like bullets.
Yeah.
But my goodness, what I love about this episode of Cosy Kitchen is you've sort of got two very standalone-y type things that also go just brilliantly together as well. If you're a biscuit lover, these things are really... even if you're not... Because there is a sort of
really yummy.
There's a cakey element to it as well, which I really like.
Yeah, because they're soft. I think there is, and the key for me actually, in terms of the flavour in both of these things, is that mixed spice, and I think I'm sure I mentioned it twice actually, that I use Schwartz mixed spice, because I've used other brands and other blends of mixed spice in the past. It's not been as nice. I just really love that particular blend. Yeah.
That though, what you've just watched, it's just the appetizer. Because who's ready for sticky gingerbread cake?
Oh,
Me.
it's so delicious.
And
I
butter.
can't even tell you.
Woohoo!
Yes.
That's to come later in the show, because right now it's time for Kay to ask.
Dan Jones.
Yes.
What's off your needles?
A gorgeous pair of mitts.
Look!
Look at these.
Look what I finished, all blocked. They look great. Shall I pop them on my handies?
Oh, you're bold.
It is warm. It's
Yes.
warm. It's very warm in this room. It's very warm.
I've loved making these. Do you know what? The whole thumb gusset, picking up stitches,
Yeah.
small amount of stitches on needles was a whole new ball game for me, especially when you're doing colour work too.
Aren't they lovely?
And I loved every minute of it.
Oh.
I mean, just so much fun. These have got to be part of my regular rotation.
They are lovely.
I mean, it is
They're lovely and warm.
like a sock, but not.
Toasty on a nice hot day.
Yeah, I know, yeah. What I love about it too is I learnt so much, from carrying the yarn over the decreases and so many different things. So I really feel like, because I am going to knit one more of these to go with the third one.
Yeah, that's right, because you've got a third one.
And they can be a gift for
a
Christmas.
gift. Yeah, you've got enough yarn, I'm sure, haven't you? Dan used Blacker. He used Blacker Yarns, Blacker Swan DK, which is one of my favourite yarns of all time. It's a merino, it's Falklands merino, and some of the colours have Shetland, a little bit of Shetland blended in as well. And it's just the most gorgeous yarn. The pale colour, the grey, is called Pale Maiden. Can you remember the brownish colour name?
No.
I can't remember, but it'll be obvious from the website, that colour, I'm sure, if you wanted to go and look. The only thing I would say about this design is...
It's the Starna Mitts.
Yes. Do you know, when I've seen this kind of a mitt before, this sort of traditional looking mitt, are they like Latvian?
Yes.
Yeah, they're like Latvian mitts, aren't they?
Yes.
The one thing that I think the designer should have paid a bit more attention to is that the pattern doesn't continue on the inside of the thumb. Can you see? And it's the inside of the thumb, and I guess it doesn't really matter. But I'm sure if she'd have put some... put a bit of brain power into that could have been continued, because I have seen designs where that has happened, where it continues onto the inside of the thumb. It's obviously perfectly fine on the outside and nobody sees in there, so it doesn't really matter. No one would notice apart from the knitter, I would guess. I don't think anyone else would notice it.
Oh, whoops. I'm really happy about how the 1x1 here blocks.
Yeah, it looks lovely.
Because what you're seeing there is a direct example of how the way that I approach colour work works for creating an even looking fabric.
Yeah.
Because I did the same thing on the clear quat hat, the clear quat toque, and it did not look like that because I was using the old, approach. I wasn't alternating. I wasn't, shifting up, shifting down, moving everything around the whole time.
You alternate which yarn is on top and which is on bottom, don't you? So.
Yes. And what I'm going to do is in September, I'm no teacher when it comes to knitting, but people have been going on at me for ages about this. And what I will do in September is I will, with Kay's help, make a video, I'm not going to call it a tutorial, that we will put out in our tutorial section on our website, which shows you how I approach it.
Yeah.
But it is all about just alternating every stitch every time.
It's to stop that yarn dominance, and if you keep the yarns in the same positions through the whole item, so if you always have the dark yarn on top and always have the light yarn on the bottom, then you will get, generally speaking, unless your tension is some miraculously even thing, but generally speaking, your tension is different with the yarn on top and the yarn on the bottom.
You can see an example of yarn dominance here because I messed up the middle there and I got it right there.
Right. then you will, basically what it means is that one colour will jump out at you more than the other, depending on...
You see how the pale colour this side is jumping out, and on this side is not.
Depending on where you've held it. Now, some people like that yarn dominance, and sometimes it works well for a design. You know, you might want that pale colour to really stand out, but you prefer a more even look, don't you? So that when you look at it, your eye is not drawn to either the pale or the dark.
Personally, when I knit something, I want it to look. Yeah,
I mean, I do see both colours in that. You know what I mean? I do initially look at the flowers, but then you can, you know, the brownish colour does stand out as well.
What is really fascinating is you can see that was my first one, and that was my third one.
Right.
And you can see how much I've learnt between those two with regards to getting the yarn dominance, you know, completely eliminated.
It's a lot more difficult in a small item as well,
it
isn't it?
That's why I say I've learnt a huge amount knitting these, and I'm going to love knitting more.
Yeah.
Look, I want some cake. So without further ado, I think it's time that we headed back for the main course in today's episode of Kay's Cosy Kitchen.
Welcome back, everybody, to part 2 of Kay's Cosy Kitchen. So we've had our little starter of the soft ginger nuts. Very delicious, very much enjoyed it, but I've saved space because we are now going to have the sort of main event, if you like, of the sticky gingerbread cake. It's absolutely fantastic, and again, really simple to make. So the first thing we need to do is check out our ingredients. So first of all, we're going to start off again with our flour. Once again, I'm using the white spelt flour. You can use just plain white flour if you prefer. We've got our spices again, and these are the same spices that we used for the biscuits. So we've got ground ginger and we've got the Schwartz mixed spice. I've got an egg, some butter, and this time I'm using some butter from our local farm shop, so that'll be exciting to try. It's actually, it turned out when I looked at where it was from, it's from Lancashire, which is sort of a county, I don't know, it's probably a good hour and a half away from us, so it's fairly local, I suppose, but that'll be nice to try. We've got soft dark brown sugar, so it's the very sort of treacly tasting sugar, absolutely delicious. And we've got some black treacle. Oh my goodness, this ingredient is just so fabulous, I love it. So it's, you know, in this country it's always Lyle's, used to be Tate and Lyle, but Lyle's black treacle. We've also got golden syrup again, so it's the combination of those two. I've got some milk, and for this you want full fat milk. Really sorry, but you're gonna need some full fat milk. You don't need much, I always just buy a pint, and then Dan uses the rest for his coffee. He has a very flamboyant coffee with the leftovers. But yeah, full fat milk. And then the last thing is bicarbonate of soda. So that's all of our ingredients. Let's have a look at our utensils. Okay, so we need a few more things for the cake than we did for the biscuits, but again, it's probably everything you've already got. Now, first of all, a saucepan, just a medium-sized saucepan. I've then got my tin that I'm going to be baking the cake in. Now, this is made in a 2-pound loaf tin. What I've done here, this is just the tin I use for making bread, and I've just lined it with, again, the non-stick foil. You can use baking parchment if you prefer. I just prefer foil because it's easier to sort of manipulate into all the corners, but however you want to line it, you just want to line a 2-pound loaf tin. I've then got a mixing bowl. We're just actually going to use that to measure some ingredients in. A measuring jug, this is a pint or half a litre jug. I've then got my measuring spoons. I like to actually mix this all together with a spatula, but you can use a wooden spoon if you prefer. And then my weighing scales again. So that's everything we're going to need. So once again, we need to get baking. Right, so the first thing we are going to do is we're going to melt together our butter and then all of our sugars. So I've got my scales here again, and I'm going to put the saucepan on the scale and just zeroise it, and then I can just measure everything straight into the saucepan. So first of all, I'm going to go with the butter. So 95 grams, I just use a spoon to sort of scoop off chunks. And just straight into the pan. Oh, 96. I'll let myself off with that gram, and I'll do the sugar next. The dark brown sugar, I think this is very traditional for making sort of gingerbread recipes. I think it tends to be what makes gingerbread for me, using the dark brown sugar. So oh, it smells amazing. So again, we want 95 grams of this. Now this, I don't actually sieve the dark brown sugar because we're going to be melting it. So any lumps that are there will just disappear when we melt it. Oh, that's a lot. Oh, no, that was okay. Oh, too much. So we need to, I'm just going to take a lump out. oh, 94, okay. Oh, there we go. 95, cool. Now it's time for a bit of the stickiness. Now, the golden syrup is not a problem. Black treacle, that's a whole other ball game, and we'll sort that in a second. But the golden syrup is really easy. We just squeeze this in, and we need 110 grams. There we go. Now, the black treacle. Now we need 95 grams of this. Black treacle always comes in these tins. It certainly does in this country anyway. I think in other countries this would be similar to molasses. I don't know that it's exactly the same though as black treacle because I've never had molasses. But I'm sure you'll be able to get this online, and I would really recommend that you get the black treacle. Now, people have theories on how to get the treacle out of the tin without it becoming a massive sticky mess. Now, a lot of people would heat up the spoon, so have a jug of hot water and just dip the spoon in the hot water for a little bit and then into the treacle, and then it slides off easier. Some people coat the spoon with oil and then put it in. Do you know what? I don't do any of that. I just go for it. So I just get my spoon in and sort of twirl it around. And then as it comes out, just, can you see? Oh my goodness, it's amazing stuff. Just twirl it around like that and it all gets stuck on there. And then just let it all drop off your spoon. And this is why I like to use a spatula. I'm going to be using this spatula to mix it anyway, so it's fine, it's getting on there. And I kind of just take my time with this. It's probably one of the stickiest substances known to man. It's got to be, hasn't it? So I'm going to go back in for some more. And then what I then do is if you have a bowl of soapy water in your sink ready, just sort of dump the spoon in there. That's the easiest way of cleaning it, I find. I'm actually going to leave it at that because my scales went a bit doolally and I feel like there's actually a bit more in there than my scales are saying. But let's say that there's 95 grams in there. It looks right to me, and like I said, my scales just decided to turn off at the very wrong moment. And now I'm going to pop this over onto my hob and just turn it on low and just let that heat through. Keep an eye on it. We don't want it to burn. Absolutely don't want it to burn. What I'm going to do while I'm waiting for that just to heat through and melt all of those lovely sugars and butter is I'm going to weigh out all of my dry ingredients. Right, so I'm just going to pop my bowl onto the scales, and then we're going to put in the flour. That's 225 grams. There we go. And then the spices. So the ground ginger, now again this is down to sort of personal choice. What I put in is sort of 2 fairly flat teaspoons of ginger, and this for me gives the right sort of gingeriness. Now again, if you like more ginger, by all means put more in. And then the mixed spice, about a flat teaspoon of that as well. I can't get my teaspoon into that jar, so we'll do 2 half teaspoons. There you go. And then the bicarb of soda. Oh, that's my oven. So the oven temperature for this cake, it's a fairly sort of medium low oven, and it's quite a long bake. So my oven's set to about 170 fan. So again, all ovens are different, so be judged by your oven, but for me it's about 170 fan is what my oven is at. So the bicarb of soda, I want 1.5 teaspoons. Okay, and then I'm just going to give that a little mix through. I'm going to use a fork just because that's to hand. You just want to combine all of the ingredients together. Again, it smells delicious. Okay, and then just set that aside for a second. And then the last thing we need to do in preparation is, in this jug here I've got my milk. So I've got 285 mils of full fat milk, and I'm going to crack in an egg. Okay, and then just mix that together. That's fine. So now I'm just going back to my pan to give that a little check. And all we're aiming to do is just to melt everything. We don't want anything, we don't want anything to boil. So it really just needs to be warm, warm enough to melt everything. Once the butter's disappeared, you know that that's absolutely fine. So I'm just going to give this all a stir, and I think it's probably fine then. And you won't feel any sort of sugary grounds at the bottom as well. You don't want it to boil at all. We're just melting everything. Yeah, that's good. So now I'm just going to bring my pan over and I'm just popping it on a little wooden board so it doesn't damage the surface. Now what I'm going to do is add in my dry ingredients. So you're just going to plonk it all in. Couldn't be easier. And then give it all a mix. Oh, it smells amazing. Now, I know a lot of people would associate things like this, ginger biscuits, ginger cakes, more with autumn and winter, Halloween and things like that, bonfire night. I say if you want to eat a ginger cake in summer, you make a ginger cake in summer. That's what I say. So you just wait until you've got all of that flour and it's all disappeared, and you'll have this kind of quite thick, sort of like a batter. But what we're going to do now is make it way thinner, and we're going to just dump in all of this. Now, it might look a bit unappealing at first when you start mixing, but just keep going. It's fine, honestly, I promise. And what you're going to produce is, it is a batter. It's not, a thick cake mixture at all. It's very much a batter for this recipe. So just keep going, and you will eventually end up with a nice smooth batter. What I'm going to do for the last little mix is I just go in with a balloon mix. I don't know whether this is officially what you should do, but I just find that it just finishes off the batter really nicely and just makes sure that you get all of those bits from the bottom. So just go in with a balloon mix, only for a minute or so, just to make sure we've got everything up from the bottom of the pan. And you can see now it's this just gorgeous smelling and gorgeous looking batter. So I'm now just going to pour that straight into the loaf tin. In it goes. Delicious. And then I'll just use the spatula just to scrape out that last bit so we don't lose anything. So now I'm going to pop that in my oven, in my preheated oven, about 170 for really sort of 50 minutes to an hour. Again, keep an eye on it, and if you think it's sort of browning too much on top, you can just pop a piece of foil on just to sort of slow that browning down. I've never had to do that, but that can sometimes happen with certain ovens. It can brown a bit too quickly. So I'm now going to pop it in the oven, like I said, 170 degrees for about 50 minutes to an hour. Do keep an eye on it, make sure it's not going to burn on top because there's a lot of different sugars in there. And then as soon as it's ready, the way that I tell it's ready is if you just sort of touch it on top with your finger, it should spring back. And then the other test I do is I just get a little thin skewer and just go straight through the middle, pull it out. If it comes out clean, you're good to go, it's done. And then just set it aside in the tin for about 5 minutes and just let it cool. And then I just lift it out, you know, the foil helps me lift it out, pop it on a baking rack, and then just let it cool completely down. And then it'll be time to cut it and give it a try. Our delicious gingerbread cake, what did I call it? Sticky gingerbread cake, has now cooled, and what I've done is I've cut a lovely slice and I've spread it with butter. Now I can't recommend to you more than that, than spreading it with butter. If you're in this country, I think this is more a typical UK thing, but if you like malt loaf, you know, when we traditionally eat malt loaf, you would slice it and you would butter it. Treat this the same way. It really, really benefits from having butter on. That being said, if you don't want butter, just eat it as is and it's just as delicious. You could also, with this, I think, you could just warm it a little bit. Cut a couple of slices, either wrap it in foil and pop it in a warm oven for 5 minutes, or just heat it in a microwave for just, a few seconds. Put custard on it. I think it would be like absolute heaven. But I'm just going with the straight sliced butter, cup of tea. Can't beat it. So let's give it a try. It's really soft. Oh, it's just gorgeous. It's absolute heaven. It's just the perfect cake. Look, I know it's a ginger cake, and I said this before. I know it's a ginger cake. It might seem a bit bonkers to be making it in summer, but honestly, it's the most delicious thing. It's really light. It doesn't taste heavy at all. The sponge is so light, and I think that's because it was quite a loose batter rather than a heavy sort of mixture. It's completely delicious. So I really, really hope that you all make the cake and the biscuits and have yourself a little ginger fest. Why not? So I hope you all really enjoyed that. And I will see you next time for more Kay's Cosy Kitchen.
Now that's what I call a cake. Oh my goodness, is it the milk that makes it so squishy?
It's because it's a very loose batter.
Right.
Really.
Right.
That's what I think. It's a really loose, well, you saw, didn't you? It's a really loose batter. So, traditionally, like a sponge cake, it's more of a soft dropping consistency, they always say, don't they? Quite a solid thing. Whereas this, you poured it in. So I think that's what makes it so soft and like the tender, I think would be the description of it. Nigella would say it's got a tender crumb, I'm sure, is what she would say.
Do you know, actually, it suddenly dawned on me now what that cake is reminiscent of. The cake that Bryony loves from the supermarket booths, the chocolate cake. I've only had a couple of slices of that, but the middle of that is very soft, like that gingerbread cake. So I wonder if
maybe it's
a similar approach.
Yeah, quite a liquid mix. Yeah.
Do you know what? I don't enjoy cakes which are on the dry side. You want a cake that is like, you don't need a slip of tea to get it down. And we've all been there before, haven't we, with cakes. That one, whether you butter it, whether you have it straight, you could even serve that slightly warm with some ice cream on.
I think I said that on the thing, didn't I? Either with custard or with ice cream, slightly warm. If you'd had it in the tin for a few days and you thought, maybe it will be a bit more like that, even though it isn't, I don't think, after a few days. But anyway, you could just slice it, a bit of it, stick it in the micro for a few seconds, and then put a blob of custard or ice cream on. Delicious.
The other beautiful thing about both those things is they're just ideal for taking with you.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're going out for a picnic, you might just be going out for a walk.
Yeah.
A couple of biscuits in the bag.
It's nice cake.
Out it comes.
Wrapped up in some foil.
Those little plastic closey shutty things that you give our daughter Bryony when she's going off to school. We put things in. They're perfect.
Snack boxes.
Yes. Out they come.
You still do that.
Bit of cake. Well, you would do for me.
I would.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's just perfect.
Yeah.
It's perfect. So that is about the most perfect representation of the way that we now have a treat whenever we want it.
Yeah, I mean, I've made that cake. I've made the biscuits quite a few times, but I've made the cake, I don't know how many times, we don't have it very often.
No.
Every, I don't know, couple of months or something, I might say, I'll make a ginger cake. I could eat a slice of that any time of day.
That, ladies and
even
gentlemen,
breakfast.
though, that is the end of another Case Cosy Kitchen. And you know what that means? Next time, My Favourite Colourways is back, and I can't wait.
Yes.
Right now, though, it's time for the Endy Bits.
Endy Bits.
Now, we mentioned earlier on that our Summer of Stitching's, well, one of its main events, which is the Christmas in July cal, is about to finish.
Yeah.
And you'll be drawing prizes and announcing them next time.
Yes, there's just one prize for this.
Yes.
Because I dyed up, when I knit my tinsel mitts, no, not mitts, tinsel socks. We've just been talking about mittens. I've got mitts on my brain. Yeah, when I knit my tinsel socks, I dyed up a special set of mini skeins for it, and I dyed 2 sets of it at the same time. And this is the other set. So the winner of the Christmas in July knit along will win this set of minis.
Gorgeous.
And I called them the Tinsel Mini Skein set. So there's 5 minis in there. It's on a sparkle base. It's the 8515. Oh, and I've not put sparkle on there. Oh, I might have to just handwrite that on. That wouldn't be very professional, would it? But it does have sparkle in as well. So very festive, and you can do whatever you like with these. But we will announce the winner of this lovely prize on the next show.
And whilst our Summer of Stitching is finishing for everyone, it continues on for our Bakery Bear patrons right the way until the end of August.
Yes.
We mentioned it at the start of the show, but the Stitchy U, which really is the sort of big main event, the thing that we worked on so hard earlier on this year, I think 1 or 2 lessons or lectures or whatever you want to call them have gone out in July, and the rest are all going out in August.
Yeah.
There's loads of other exclusive special content as well going out in August. And as something comes to an end like the Summer of Stitching, you can feel slightly sad, can't you? You can wonder what's on the horizon. What is there to be excited about? Well, in our latest patron exclusive show, we announced exactly what there is to be excited about, because we've decided that the right way forward for the Bakery Bears is to have 4 special events every year, like 1 a quarter. Oh, it feels like a business meeting. So yes, we're famous for the Bakery Bears Advent Calendar.
Yeah.
That will be in December. What's going to be in the autumn?
Yeah.
Well, it's only Sockaween.
Sockaween. Oh my goodness, this is going to be so fun. So yeah, this will be a patron event that runs the whole way through October, where we're just going to be knitting all of the Halloween socks.
Now, we've gone into some detail on how Sockaween is going to work in our latest patron exclusive show, which is linked in the show notes below. So if you want to find out all about the next great Bakery Bear event, go have a look at that. And also as well, go watch that show, because there will be some very exciting build-up to Sockaween that happens in September.
Yes.
And that build-up actually is going to be open to everybody.
Yes.
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 We shall say nothing more. I'm doing the right thing, aren't I?
Yes, that's fine.
Good. Just wanted approval.
Don't want to give away too many secrets.
No. So yes, there is something to look forward to. Don't be disappointed. The Summer of Stitching may be ending, but Sockaween is on the horizon.
Sockaween.
Yes, and the coolest thing of all is, as we announced in that pop show, the Summer of Stitching will be back in 2023.
It will.
And I've actually caught myself still. My apologies to the Baker Bear patrons, because on our last Summer of Stitching update, which I post at the end of each month, the Summer of Stitching has been going on, I put Summer of Stitching 2021.
Oh gosh.
And I only realised yesterday.
I know.
And we're nearly 6 months into 2022.
It's so weird, because like, to me, 1990 doesn't seem that long ago, you know?
No.
And yet here we are.
I was only 15.
Yeah, well, I wasn't, but you know,
I was doing my GCSEs.
I was working.
Yes.
I bought my first house.
She was working 9 to 5. What a way to make a living.
That was me. Yeah, I was Doing the Dolly
Who
Parton
saw Dolly
thing.
Parton on the Orville?
Dolly Parton. Do you watch the Orville?
It was marvellous.
It was the best thing ever. Dolly
Didn't she
Parton
walked?
was on the Orville.
It was brilliant. What's
Amazing.
What I can't work out with Dolly Parton is, how does she look younger now than she did when she was in 9 to 5?
Highly strange, isn't it? She's obviously had
But
some
who cares?
some
It's Dolly.
attention going on there. But yeah, Dolly was
She's a legend.
on the Orville. It was just the best thing ever.
Folks, thank you so much for watching. It's been wonderful to see you.
Thank you, everybody.
And we'll see you in 2 weeks
Yes, happy knitting.
in a show that will feature my favourite colourways.
Lovely.
Bye.
See you soon. Bye.
Sitting and knitting, it's Dan and Kay, the bakery prayers. Enthusiasm's not quitting for Dan and Kay, the bakery prayers. They'll take you to fabulous places of which their favorites they'll share. You better buy a pattern, get yourself a bakery bear. You'll find yourself in a castle while watching the bakery bears. It never feels like a hassle to sit and watch the bakery bears. What's on your shelf or what's in